entities, credit union, insurance companies, so that it can complement that which already exists. And I want to say that in this year where we are faced with the existential threats as a small and developing state, to have the finances and the wherewithal to be able to build resilience is as serious and important to us as the air we breathe. And so, these threats that I'm talking about, you heard about the triple planetary crisis. It is news all over the world. The loss of biodiversity, climate change, and of course, the fact, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that pollution is a threat. I will add one more to it and call it the quaternary change or crisis. And that is sea level rise. And we can go on because we've got ocean acidification that is destroying our coral and our marine life as we know it. Mr. Speaker, you've heard many times that we contribute very little to the climate change crisis. In the tropics, the 2 billion people or so contribute less than an eighth in terms of global greenhouse gas emitted as it relates to the carbon dioxide, the 40 billion tons or so that the world produces. Yet still we feel the adverse effects and the worst effects of climate change. And so you would have heard a noble proposition by this country called the Bridgetown Initiative. By July this year, you would understand the concretization of the Bridgetown Initiative 3.0, because we understand how to have new improvements on something that will basically save our financial way of life. Mr. Speaker, sir, Madam Deputy Speaker, it is all part of ensuring that we have the sustainable development. And when we are talking about the sustainable development goals, the most adaptive project probably in the world is the Bridgetown, as the Roof to Reach program. A program that seeks to look at resilience from every drop of water in our roof, and then it traces it in a way that is sustainable to the reefs, so we can replenish that which is an important part of our blue carbon sink. Very important. Then you look at the roofing network, resilience as it relates to how we harvest water at the household level. It has a domesticated aspect to it, recognizing, of course, that females form an integral part of the culinary build-out of this country. These are important parts of the conversation. That's why I said it is the most holistic adaptive project ever in the world. And I want to say that when we come and conceptualize something as the Bridgetown Initiative, a financial disruption of the normal financial architecture, which would allow big multilateral banks and other institutions to lend us financing at concessionary rates. Now, the importance of this, Madam Deputy Speaker, is to ensure that those who operate in the sphere that I am supposed to be in charge of, the blue environment, of course, the fisher folk, how we can start positioning them to have the finances, to have the alternative energies that we are speaking of, the abatement technologies. Because the only way we can have those abatement technologies if we are going to fully transition by 2030, 35 to a fossil fuel-free country is if we have the abatement technologies. And these abatement technologies are right now being sought after by every single country, recognizing, of course, that there is a threat to the climate as it relates to greenhouse gases. So the abatement technology will be far out of the reach of small island developing states unless we have the financial resources to be able to to garner those technologies. And I'm saying, Madam Deputy Speaker, that you look at the photovoltaics for those in the fishing industry, the boats. You can look, for instance, the transition to biogas and the different technologies that they need. Battery technology and battery storage, even on our boats, is a serious problem. To have eco-friendly fishing lines, because it will redound to that. If you are talking about a complete green fishing industry, you have to look at the eco-friendly even as it relates to the fishing line. New software for the monitoring of the vessels, very important to our fisher folk when they're at sea, so that we can monitor the boats using artificial intelligence. This is where we are going in the fishing industry, but we can only do it if we have the financial mechanisms too. The smart systems, transitional systems at sea, special electronic tagging are very important, so we can have the tagging for our marine life as it relates to migratory patterns of our fish and our marine fauna. Marine visual technology, again, very important, so that we can trace the activities of our fisher folk when they're at sea. And so it is basically the tracing from boat to plate, where everything that happens from the time the boat leaves the seashore to explore their fishing activities, so we can have a catch for our palates. That is the type of technology that we are speaking of. The only way we can have this technology to enhance the industry is, of course, if we are given the financial hub to do it with. And I'm saying that it involves the Blue-Green Bank and the initiative to have a partnership with those in the private sector. It involves the public sector, and of course, it involves other multilateral agencies, because we must have a relationship, if we are serious about building out the sector, with those in that particular industry. Mr. Speaker, Madam Deputy Speaker, we know for a fact that the climate change is real. We see it every day. We see the fires that we are faced with in terms of the bushfires. We are having biodiversity loss. I said before that life on this earth started with biodiversity. It would die abruptly without it. And in order to build back our resistance, we have had coastal loss in terms of our erosion on our beaches. We have had erosions that disrupt not only our marine life, but we have had disruption of the life of those who would frequent the beach and those who live in near shore, because this is real in terms of the erosion and the vagaries associated with climate change. It was very, very, very noble of this government to be involved in one of the very first for the Caribbean debt for nature swaps, where we said that the savings on our debt over the next 5-10 years will be put towards building out our blue economic space with a marine spatial plan. And the only way we can have these things is if we have the financial wherewithal to do it, using new and innovative instruments. And I'm saying, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the marine spatial plan that will basically demarcate the ocean, so we can have areas for resilience again, which looks at mitigation and adaptation. You've heard already about the breakwaters in the sea to stop the adverse thrust, which will eventually disrupt our ocean and our ocean space. You've heard about the revetment, which aligns itself at the borders of the ocean shores, and so that you want to have the erosion of the beaches. We've heard a lot about groins and how they are able to improve the ability to resist those thrusts of waves. Those are the things that we have heard in terms of the resilience. There are other areas for marine management. And those marine managed areas will obviously protect the biodiversity. It will protect those species that we need to protect so we can ensure that the fishing industry is sustained. We've heard about the marine spatial plan being used for advancement of biodiversity. And we have had the conversation with the biodiversity even beyond our national jurisdiction as part of ensuring that there's preservation of biodiversity even for those areas that we may not see as part of our EEZ. These are important conversations that we are having now. You know that the ocean is now being looked at as an energy resource. And so those areas, again, must be demarcated with a proper marine spatial plan so that the energy resource of the ocean could be fully utilized. Madam Deputy Chair, these are important dimensions if we are serious about the blue economy. You would have seen the work done on all the fish markets. You heard the former minister of the blue economy, the member of parliament for St. Michael South spoke about the sanitary conditions that he brought to the market and the fact that the fisher folk now have a forum that they could do their business, whether internationally or locally. These are the things we are speaking about. The fact that fisher folk can have access to water in a conservative way, that there's no photovoltaic that is used as an alternative to the fossil fuel. These are the things that we have allowed this country to walk with us in a journey to fully transition away from the fossil fuel. At the same time, we understand full well that the world is faced with depletion of what they call natural resources. So therefore, the abatement technologies that one would expect may be forthcoming may not be as forthcoming as we think because of these vagaries. I am saying, Madam Deputy Chair, that we have to now come with the new innovative finance technologies. We have to be able to disrupt that which was the norm as it relates to the architecture. And I am saying, Madam Deputy Speaker, in my short intervention, that I fully support the Barbados Blue-Green Bank bill, and I look forward to having it redound to the benefits of all Barbadians, especially those who are looking to transition away from the fossil fuel and allow us to have a clean and green environment in the not too distant future. Thank you, Mr. Dunn.
Honourable members for St. Philip South.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I wish to join this debate to give my full support to the Barbados Blue-Green Bank bill and to say that this is part of the development process through which a country is supposed to demonstrate its seriousness in achieving first world status. Madam Deputy Speaker, I've said before in this Parliament that I'm sometimes confused as to where the interests of politicians who feel that their only agenda is to criticize the government and policies that are redound to the benefit of their own people. Now, I've heard severe criticism over and over in the name of opposition politics to development policies in this country that they, the critics, know that they themselves can do no better and will be in no position to reverse what is being done. And that to seek to convey the impression to the public of Barbados first and foremost that what is being done is being treated to by a government, a responsible government, that has been able to adjust to what is taking place globally as far as climate is concerned, and indeed leading the way in climate advocacy, that we can still find a situation where negativity wants to be or is the order of the day in response to what ought to be a complimentary presentation on where we are in terms of our development and what we are hoping to do for the people of Barbados. Madam Deputy Speaker, what is at stake here is not political office. Let me make that clear. What is at stake here is not whether or not any member is going to regain his or her seat to this honorable chamber. What is at stake here, Madam Deputy Chief Speaker, is how do we respond to the challenges that our business people face in this country as it relates to climate. And if we want to be responsible enough to give them the assurance that as they repose their trust and confidence in us, to put us in this honorable chamber to look after the affairs of this country, that we ought to do so collectively when it comes to matters of their developmental interests, Madam Deputy Speaker. And therefore, I want to put on record that whilst we are here wasting time criticizing serious matters that are taking place with things that we cannot change, Madam Deputy Speaker. We can't change climate. We cannot do anything about it. And therefore, the debate is one that is so serious that we ought to learn, research, participate, or do whatever it takes to be able to follow where the world is going as it relates to climate change. And Madam Deputy Speaker, last year in June, 29th of June last year, I attended an FAO conference in Rome. And at that conference, Madam Deputy Speaker, we had a packed room with people from all over the world speaking to what climate is doing to their countries. Agriculture ministers who expressed severe concern about what is taking place in their country, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I am happy to report to you that at that meeting, you know who they wanted to hear most on this issue? They wanted to hear from CARICOM, small island developing states, to find out what it is, first of all, that is affecting us, how we are adapting to what is upon us now, and to look at how we can build resilience within the region. And Madam Deputy Speaker, from within CARICOM, I happen to be the one chosen to make the presentation on behalf of the region. This presentation looked at how we can put resilience in place for the least developed countries in the region, and of course, the one landlocked developing country or one landlocked country that sits close to us, which is Haiti. And Madam Deputy Speaker, I was proud to be part of a conversation that was led to help us to understand where we are in terms of what climate is doing to agriculture. We have lived a life where we talk about open field agriculture, we talk about rain, we talk about production being down, we talk about all the things that are going wrong, Madam Deputy Speaker, and at no point in time did anyone look to see what is the root cause of the problem. We continue to compare agriculture today to agriculture in the past, where we had sugar as king, and what we then produced were rotation crops, intercropping with yams and potatoes, etc., at a time when the country relied purely on rainfall. And on those large plantations, then there were wells where water was extracted from those wells to assist those large farms. Agriculture today now has transitioned to the point you don't have all large plantation owners on farms, Madam Deputy Speaker. We now have a small country, farmers that is farmers that are without water. They don't have wells on their plantations. And therefore, those farmers will not survive unless they have access to water. Many times you will see reports within the press where the farmers are complaining about their access to water. And I believe that in order for us to be able to address these matters, it would take funding. And that funding cannot come from just government alone. This has to be an approach across the region where governments of the CARICOM member states are willing to participate. In order for us to be able to achieve this, it therefore means that member states must commit to the development of climate funding that would allow for farming to survive and to thrive under these difficult conditions. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, I believe this initiative provides a chance for the traditional banking institutions who will not normally participate in funding agriculture simply because of the major risks they see involved, and then equally with the major risks that pertains to lack of insurance in agriculture. To that end, Madam Deputy Speaker, we have to look at creative means, and we have to look at means outside of regular institutions to be able to support agriculture. And therefore, I believe that the Barbados Blue-Green Bank is that institution that will provide an opportunity now to take away some of the risks from the larger and traditional financial institutions and to give a cheaper or low rate of funding to farmers to be able to participate. Poultry, for example, poultry requires a new design in terms of poultry, chicken farming. And that new design will require for farms not to be constructed with just wire and wood, but that you have to have now tunnels with fans and coolers and chillers so that the chickens in a controlled environment will survive the heat when it comes, and equally it can be adjusted to suit cold times. One farmer in St. John last year, for example, lost 30,000 birds within the space of half hour. And that happened because of a power outage. And the heat that was generated within the space of that half hour destroyed 30,000 birds. You will see that in order for us to be able to supply eggs during the Christmas season, we had to import eggs. And we had to do so because at that time, one of the tunnels that had the layers also shut down. And we lost the production of eggs, and we had to look to an outside source. Madam Deputy Speaker, if this is a global thing, then it means then that all of those countries who are impacted by climate would at some point in time have the same risk that we went through when we were facing the challenges in last year's heat condition. Madam Deputy Speaker, it means that for us to adapt, we must be able to build resilience in order for our farmers to proceed. Our dairy farmers, for example, milk production was done. It was not done because of the Minister of Agriculture, as some people will want to make you believe. It was done because of climate, because of the heat. So the milking cows weren't producing the milk because of the stress from the heat. The same thing goes for sweet potatoes. The same thing goes for yams. When outside is hot, and I've said before, climate change will result in more diseases, more insects. If you have prolonged heat, it's gonna give you more diseases, more insects. If you have prolonged rain, you have flooding, and you're gonna get crop loss. Therefore, sweet potatoes for a long while have been impacted by climate. But you find that last year, and this year as well, they are having challenges with yield because of the excess heat that is taking place. Now, sweet potato is not a crop that likes a lot of water. but it certainly cannot withstand excess heat. And therefore, it was for the farmers then to be able to adjust with clean planting material in order to combat what is taking place and get more climate-tolerant, drought-resistant planting material, which is why we are developing the plant tissue culture lab in Barbados in order to be able to produce that clean planting material for farmers. And therefore, I say, Madam Deputy Speaker, that if we believe that this government can fund all of what is required in order for farmers to have an opportunity to participate, then we are fooling ourselves. And equally, if we want to do this and do not bring the private sector along, we put ourselves in a position where we then put agriculture at severe risk, because you find that more people will exit than those who will enter. And as soon as you start to get people to exit, then the burden falls straight back to the government in order for us to provide food security. And so, Madam Deputy Speaker, I welcome this Barbados Blue-Green Bank Bill simply because it provides an opportunity now for funding outside of the traditional lending systems that we have, but also it gives an opportunity for government to be able to get the private sector to participate in a space where there are better guarantees, lower interest rate, and opportunities to build out agri-food systems that are made for the conditions that we are in today. Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to just make one small correction about Haiti. Indeed, it wasn't Haiti we were referring to when we referred to the landlocked countries. And I want to place on record that correction. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, the problem with small island developing states and landlocked countries will not change because of a small error. The responsibility on all of us, and certainly where the international financial institutions are going, you will be amazed to know that in as much as they are spending billions on climate change, only 18% of global financial cash flows go to agriculture for climate change. And this has to be a very serious problem, one that should frighten all of us. And my position on it when I made my presentation is that out of global financial cash flows for climate, we need to put a minimum of 40% if you're going to achieve a sustainable development goal too. And I'm saying this because, first of all, we are behind. But secondly, the amount of changes and challenges that are taking place with climate at this point in time, we cannot keep up without providing the financial support that is required. Across the world, the conversation is about food security. How do we protect people from hunger? How do we prevent malnutrition? How do we give people safe, healthy food, and of course, food sovereignty? None of this can be achieved, Madam Deputy Speaker, without funding. And for us to make believe that a blue-green bank being established in Barbados will be used in such a manner as to squander or waste money is to tell me that we have yet in this country people who do not know what is taking place with climate. They have no exposure to where the international conversation is going. They are not participants in what is happening in terms of how we can build resilience. And I have to say that if we don't be careful, I think Barbados, well, not Barbadians, but some Barbadians can easily find themselves being misled with conversations that are grounded only in political or one's political agenda to make people feel that anything that this government is doing is wrong. A government that took us from the brink of a currency devaluation, reversed 23 downgrades, took sewage off the street, brought more garbage collection vehicles, took us through COVID, without losing the amount of lives that I see other places had. Took us through COVID at a time when we didn't have any increase in crime during the COVID period with people breaking in people's houses or robbing people and things like that. Because the government put a buffer in place to protect small businesses and to be able to bring us through and talk us through a period that was extremely difficult, not just for Barbados, for the entire world. And we made it through all of that, and all those critics who are criticizing were at the same risk as everybody else, because their houses could have been broken into, and I deliberately said houses because they may have more than one. And equally, they could have been robbed in one of the 4 cars that they drive. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm not speaking specifically about the opposition leader because he's looking at me as if he's amused about something. I'm speaking specifically about those who do not want to see this government do well. And they're doing so because of their own agenda. And I'm not going to get into anything about George Street because I have a cordial relationship with the opposition leader, unless he has changed that. But at the end of the day, wrong is wrong. And you do not get right when you start wrong. There's no mathematical equation that you can start wrong and come up with the right answer. It's almost like an attempt to square a circle. It will not happen. So if you start wrong, how do you expect to get a right solution? And therefore, I will not discuss anything about George Street because all those who are involved in that is their problem. They have that to solve. But I know once it started wrong, it never gonna be right because there's no solution, Madam Deputy Speaker. You cannot square a circle, and that is the problem. Now, were it me, I would make sure, first of all, that I was welcome. And that would have to be done before I made any appearances anyway on those premises. But that didn't happen. So I ain't getting involved in that, and I want to retain my cordial relationship with the opposition, with the Honourable Opposition Leader. So I'm smirking when I made my error, because of course that amused him. But that would never make a change in what is happening in the world whatsoever. Climate change is climate change. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to say to you that at my ministry we have a whole set of greenhouses that we are putting up for our schools to learn agriculture and to give to our small farmers as well. And we now have to look at how we can use the funds that were made available to the Barbados Agricultural Society to give farmers a start in adding biodigesters to the pig farms and the chicken farms in order to take away the waste from the farms in a pleasant way and to generate energy as well to those farms. And then we are looking to see how, just like you can go and purchase a car, that we have agri-food systems that have temperature controls, chillers, etc., where you can purchase, like going to any one of the car dealers. So you have to, if you can get the major agriculture distributors who are involved in things like fertilizers and those sorts of things, to look at how we can get these systems into Barbados and people can get them on terms. The Blue-Green Bank will be the perfect place where we can then rely on to get the funding through either the traditional banking system or through some special purpose vehicle to be able to help farmers to transition to what is required. And so, Madam Deputy Speaker, I believe that this gives us the perfect opportunity to help the private sector through the challenges they're facing and to be able to then build out agriculture, increase our production again, and help us to build resilience. I'm obliged to you.
I don't know, we spend some close to perhaps. Honourable for Christchurch East Central.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As I rise to wrap up this debate, sir, I really want to thank honourable members for what has been what I can only describe as an extremely robust debate, in spite of that what was offered by the member for Christchurch South. No, sir. I am reminded very clearly, sir, when I visited, two things when I visited Morocco last year, sir, for the annual IMF World Bank annual meetings. And you would recall, sir, that sometime in September, the date escaped me, but a few weeks before the annual meetings, there was an earthquake, you would recall, sir, in Morocco. And the extent that the damage that was done caused the world, if you like, to question, could Morocco still host the world in the context of climate change? And the Moroccan government, sir, in discussions with the IMF and the World Bank, determined, given that the relief operations that were being undertaken, sir, that they will not just focus on the humanitarian relief, but use the opportunity to remind the world that the time that is required for all of us, sir, to be able to build resilience really needs to be amplified and accelerated, sir. And therefore, the IMF and the World Bank, using that colloquium, if you like, sir, marshaled, I suppose, a new level of urgency with respect to all institutions helping to build resilience in a way that would allow for countries, and certainly the communities and the citizens within those countries, sir, to achieve some measure of mitigation / adaptation in order to minimize, sir, the extent to which either lives were lost, livelihoods, sir, destroyed or impacted negatively, and certainly to ensure that you can have safety and security in spite of these significant events taking place. And that, sir, was an important signal to the world, because Barbados certainly has, as well as many of us in the Caribbean, we've had to pull ourselves together after significant events, and therefore it is really testimony to the resilience of human beings to recognize that in fellowship you can achieve great things, sir, once you work together. The second observation that I want to make, sir, given that we did raise it here, I was in a forum, sir, in the same IMF World Bank meetings last October in Marrakesh with other finance ministers, and I was struck by a remark by the Minister of Finance for Djibouti, sir, who, in this forum that we were in, remarked at the fact that rain had not fallen in Djibouti, sir, for 4 years. 4 years, sir. And that blew my mind, because the Deputy Prime Minister last year, as you recall, sir, had to introduce water restrictions in Barbados for 4 months, May, June, July, and August of last year, because of the reduction in rainfall that we had experienced in the dry season, less than half of the average 30-year rainfall. And I asked myself, sir, and obviously the water, I mean, to even contemplate rain not falling for a month, 2 months, 3 months, in any significant way is inconceivable, far less, sir, 4 years. And therefore, the concerns that the Minister of Finance for Djibouti had, sir, in relation to how the world was going to build resilience quickly was about the fact that it wasn't just the fact that the rain didn't fall for 4 years. It is that water insecurity, sir, leads to other elements of stability for which a country really cannot effectively honor any developmental goals that it may wish to achieve. And therefore, it was absolutely important, not just from a financing perspective, but equally, sir, from a access to technologies perspective, that they have had to make some significant judgments in relation to not just importing water, but certainly water conservation and the like, sir, on a scale that I hope, sir, that Barbados and this region would never, ever, ever, ever fully experience. But as we saw last year, and certainly the last year for sure, and the Prime Minister did make reference to it in her remarks, I remember one afternoon, sometime in October, standing outside the balcony at government headquarters, sir, and the rain was falling, sir, horizontally, wildly, violently, sir. And within less than 5 to 10 minutes, there was a torrent, literally a river, sir, running down Beckles Road. And it was as quickly as the rain was falling, sir, the torrent developed, it ran into the sea, sir, and it just spoke to the fact that our designs with respect to infrastructure, because obviously with such large volumes of water, the wells became inundated very quickly, sir. Water started to settle in areas that wouldn't normally settle, sir. The pumping capacity, certainly in the Bayland, could not fully accommodate the volume of water that we were seeing in those spaces, sir. And therefore, as much as we can try to get ahead of these things, the building of resilience, sir, is key to ensuring that people can live as comfortable a life, sir, whether in the Bayland or in St. Lucie or wherever else in the country, sir, that we want to make sure that people can have a comfortable experience. I will respond to one matter, sir, that was raised by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. And it is this, and I hope that Barbadians will appreciate the nuance of what I'm going to say. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition indicated that the government was spending money in what I could only describe as a way that is biased or partisan or some interpretation of that was meant to be conveyed as if it's in the negative. Now, lest he forget, the people of this country, sir, or the people of this country on 2 occasions voted comprehensively to elect the Barbados Labour Party to administer the affairs of this country. And I know that in his contemplation, the way that his side would normally look at things, the reality is that in the past, we all know, sir, that governments made decisions squarely in relation to the seats for which their members were elected. But since 2018, in case he's forgotten, this government has had all of the seats in the country. And therefore, whether it's St. Lucie, St. Philip, St. John, St. Peter, any part of the country, sir, spending has taken place across the length and breadth of this country. And therefore, to suggest that if you spend money in St. Lucie, or you spend money in St. Michael, sir, or you spend money in St. Philip, or any other part of this country, is partisan or biased or anything, sir, I take umbrage to that. Because this is the first time in the history of this country, and I know it's not something that is often said, but this is the first time that you've had a government, sir, spending money to address the issues that are so cross-cutting, so integrated in nature, that for someone to describe spending as being biased or partisan, sir, I think is unfortunate. It is very unfortunate, sir, because the people of this country certainly expect that a lot from this government, and we've tried to respond as best we can given the given what we've had to recover from. And the honourable member fully knows, he knows in his heart, sir. He knows in his heart, and he cannot contain himself. He knows deep down to the sole of his feet. He knows, sir. He knows the state that his party left this country in. He knows that. And therefore, each dollar that was spent to repair the trust between government, this is not about BLP now, you know, sir. It's about government and the people. That this government has worked hard to ensure that we deliver on the things that matter to people. And therefore, that characterization that the spending is partisan, I know that he may feel that somehow or the other, and I must admit, sir, that the idea of questioning money that's being spent in your constituency as being something negative, I find extraordinary, but he's found himself in a strange place these days, and I understand that he has to make certain soundings. But I think that all in all, the public will get a different sense that the government has been responding to the challenges that we've been confronted with, and that our execution in relation to spending is not partisan. It is the government spending money to ensure that the range of issues that need to be addressed across this country is done in as even-handed a way as possible, given the fiscal circumstances, sir, that we find ourselves in. But, sir, I am not going to detain the House much longer. There are just a couple of amendments to be made in committee, sir, and therefore I want, again, sir, to indicate to the public that the establishment of the Barbados Blue-Green Bank is going to be a critical intervention helping this country, this region, sir, to be able to achieve climate resilience, because we will be able to work, I think, much more nimbly and collaboratively with other financial institutions. And therefore, members have articulated a number of areas within which we would love to see Barbadians individually or businesses or some of our public sector institutions create the necessary proposals to be able to help the bank to be able to make decisions in order to get the projects implemented, so that year by year, sir, we're able to see that whilst there may be challenges coming our way, that we've been able to achieve the results that we know that we can achieve, because we've taken concrete steps, sir, with respect to being able to find those solutions, finance those solutions, and have those solutions implemented. And so, sir, with those few words, I will beg to move, sir, that this bill be read a second time.
Question is that the bill be read a second time. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, do not beg to move that you leave the chair and the House resolve itself in committee for further consideration of this bill.
The question is that the Speaker do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself into committee for further consideration of this bill. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Yeah. Delete and delete, yeah.
permission.
This Honourable House is now in committee.
Mr. Chairman, requesting permission to call in parts.
Granted.
Part 1, clauses 1 through 4.
Chair, beg to move that Part 1, clauses 1 to 4 stand part.
The question is that Part 1, clauses 1 to 4 stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, we say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 2, clauses 5 to 19.
Chair, beg to move that Part 2, clauses 5 to 19 stand part.
The question is that Part 2, clauses 5 to 19 stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, we say no. Thinks the ayes have it.
Part 3, clauses 20 to 30.
Chair, in this section, I beg to move an amendment to clause 28.1, where it would delete the original clause 28.1 and replace it with the following. Subject to this section, the initial authorized share capital of the bank shall be $100 million. Dividends in such shares and issued on such terms as the directors shall determine at the first meeting of the board. And for clause 29.4, we will delete the original submission and replace it with the following. Shares initially subscribed for by a shareholder shall be issued on such terms as the board determines. And clause 33, we wish to delete that and replace it with the following. The first installment shall be paid by each shareholder within 90 days after the date on which a shareholder subscribes for shares. And with those amendments, Chair, I beg to move that Part 3, clauses 20 to 30, stand part as amended.
The question is that Part 3, clauses 20 to 30, as amended, stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, we say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 4, clauses 31 to 35.
Chair, I beg to move up Part 4, clauses 31 to 35 stand part.
The question is that Part 4, clauses 31 to 35 stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, we say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 5, clauses 36 to 38.
Chair, I beg to move that Part 5, clauses 36 to 38 stand part.
The question is that Part 5, clauses 36 to 38 stand part. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 5, clauses 36 to 38.
Now we just do? Schedule. Chair, I beg to move that the schedule be the schedule to the bill.
The question is that the schedule be the schedule of the bill. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Report.
Chair, I beg to move that you do no report to His Honour the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee with amendments.
The question is that I do no report to His Honour the Speaker the passing of one bill in committee with amendments. All honourable members in favour, say aye. Honourable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Chairman of committees has reported the passing of one bill in committee with amendments. Honourable for Christchurch East Central.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be read a third time.
Question that this bill read a third time. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this bill be now passed and cited as the Barbados Blue-Green Bank Act 2024.
The question is that this bill be passed and so cited. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This bill is passed and so cited.
Order number 9, sir. In the name of the Honourable Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to move the passing of a resolution to approve in accordance with Section 2 of the Special Loans Act, Cap 105, the borrowing of up to US $12,400,000 from the CARICOM Development Fund to co-finance and augment the 3 Rs, reduce, reuse, and recycle for the climate resilient wastewater systems project on the terms and conditions contained in the loan agreement, the main provisions of which are set out in the schedule.
Honourable Member Christchurch East Central.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Speaker. Having just spent the afternoon passing the establishment of the Blue-Green Bank, which was intended, as I said earlier, sir, to be able to signal the blended finance approach that we will undertake. This specific loan agreement here, sir, as I mentioned then, is to facilitate the co-financing in relation to, on the one hand, sir, the $40 million that we receive in grant funding from the Green Climate Fund for the upgrade of the Bridgetown sewage plant to a tertiary facility, sir. And therefore, this co-financing agreement, which is being provided by the CARICOM Development Fund, and for those persons who may not be aware, this is not the CDB, sir. There is a specific entity which has been established by CARICOM, the CDF, which is intended to ensure that it minimizes the disparity, sir, between more developed countries in the region and less developed countries in the region. And therefore, we reached out to the CDF to be able to provide this co-financing arrangement with the CARICOM, with the GCF, in order to do this. I reminded the chamber earlier that when we came to office, one of the processing units of the Bridgetown plant was not operational. And you recall, sir, the growth of the pumpkins and everything else that was in there, which was not what it was designed for. And therefore, as part of how whilst there was a lot of focus on the South Coast, sir, this particular element is related to focus on Bridgetown in order to ensure that we can help better manage our water resources. Now, sir, the sum being asked here to be borrowed is $12.4 million. The term of the loan is 12 years, sir. There's a 2-year grace period on principal, and which means obviously you're repaying over a 10-year period, sir. And the interest rate is fixed, sir, at 3% per annum, and the frequency of payment, sir, is quarterly. Now, as the resolution says, sir, this is to provide the co-financing in that arrangement, and therefore, much like what we have been talking about this afternoon, this is what the government has been doing in practice in order to ensure that we improve the livelihoods of Barbadians, and to recognize that when we make these investments in our infrastructure, sir, that from time to time we have to make sure that where there are upgrades and repairs to be done, that the financing of that is done in the most cost-efficient manner. Now, just very quickly, just for the benefit of the public, sir, and to indicate, let me 1 second, sir, because it is important for the public to understand and appreciate what exactly is happening here. So whilst we are upgrading the plant, sir, to a tertiary level facility, part of the work here, sir, specifically, is to construct the installation of 9 kilometers, sir, of pipeline to transport the treated wastewater to the lands at Waterford and the Lears Plantation, sir, which, as you know, the Honourable member for St. Philip South has been unlocking areas with respect to enhancing agricultural production within that space to ensure that there's a dedicated source of water for that, as well as 0.65 kilometers of pipe to replace the sewage force main from the River Road lift station to the Bridgetown sewage plant, as well, sir, as the installation of a 1 megawatt solar PV system, including site preparation, sir, at the Bell Plantation. So these specific set of funds are dedicated with respect to being able to finance those specific things. One of the other components that's being done as part of the overall project, because the GCF grant money, sir, is dealing with the upgrade of the plant itself. This money is to move the water from the plant, sir, to where we will be able to reuse it. As I mentioned earlier, sir, CAF is working on the development of a portable water and sanitation master plan financed by them, sir. And therefore, sir, yet another example of how the government has been working collaboratively, as I say, sir, to scale up and to leverage. Now, just as I mentioned earlier, sir, all told is just about $100 million that is being invested in the upgrade of the Bridgetown plant. If we had to go and borrow $100 million, sir, on the open market, because this is a commercial exercise, then you'll be looking at costings in well excess of 5 to 6% for sure. And therefore, this approach with the grant, and grant means, sir, that you don't have to pay back the money, so the interest rate is 0, and you don't have to pay, of $40 million US dollars. This is $12 million US dollars, what we are paying 3% for, and therefore this is a small component of the overall financing that we have to repay. And so therefore, sir, I believe that this is a good deal, certainly for the country, and therefore, when we were discussing all afternoon, the Blue-Green Bank is intended to ensure that as far as possible, these types of blended arrangements can be put in place in order to ensure that the country's development trajectory can be sustained in a way, recognizing that obviously there's climate vulnerability in relation to it. So our ability to reuse our water, and this is something that we have to ensure that Barbadians fully appreciate and understand. This is not something to make sport about, sir, because if we ever get to a stage, sir, where the rain has not fallen for 4 years, then you know, sir, there'll be pandemonium about here. And therefore, the government is taking steps to ensure that our ability to better manage all of our water resources, sir, comes with not allowing water just to flow into the sea as it is doing right now, but we're able then to make sure that from a sustainability perspective, that we are making the right kind of investment in a cost-efficient manner in order to help us to be able to do that. So, sir, this is a very important piece of how the government has been using sustainable financing arrangements to be able to help Barbados continue on its development trajectory. And therefore, this resolution before this honourable chamber, sir, is just for us to be able to enter into the loan agreement with the CARICOM Development Fund to be able to execute this very important work, which I know, sir, will help a number of farmers within the urban corridor to be able to have better access to water, which will enhance our agricultural production across a number of areas, sir, enhancing our food security, and therefore being able to help to contain, sir, some of the issues with respect to whether imports or the cost of living to some degree, sir, in relation to being able to get this done. And so, sir, with those very, very, very few words, I beg to move, sir, that this resolution do now pass.
Honourable Vice South.
I'm obliged to, Your Honor. This has been an extremely interesting day in the life of this Parliament. Quite a remarkable day, really. And this is not any review intended for you, sir. But I think I'm entitled to say that we came to the business of this Parliament today and engaged in a matter of an amendment to the Criminal Law Procedure Act. And at the end of what I thought was a reasonably good and involved debate. The Honourable Attorney General said, well, he admits that what he did here today may not come into operation for a long time. Words to that effect, and he picked up his bags and left. Following on that, the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central, I don't want to say that the member for Christchurch East Central concealed himself behind what must now be considered a useless debate. If you pass a law that you say is not going to be of any use to anybody, the member for Christchurch East Central then passes or introduces a law to establish something called a blue-green bank. And I want to say this, and I will raise my voice, that no amount of sanctimony, invective, nor false indignation will still my voice against my assertion that Barbadians do not trust this government with the public monies. They don't. And with the example of Kensington, Barbadians do not believe that any $50 million has been spent on Kensington and its allied establishments. And I use the term allied establishments quite liberally. And for this government to be walking around this country telling people that I, for one, and I'm not alone in it, that the people of this country are not opposed to any infrastructural development at the police ground, nor at Oistins. What the people of this country are saying, I'm not even going to personalize it now, is that they do not believe that any $5 million was spent there. And I am saying to this government, through you, sir, that it becomes contemptuous of the intelligence of people, including the people at Oistins, to distort the argument into some silly response that people are opposed to the infrastructural developments at Oistins. Nobody has opposed it. People are opposed to government's assertion that it has spent $5 million, and every day in this country, sir, every day, I'm not going to still my voice. Every day in this country, people who drive by there and people who have seen the so-called work at Oistins are taking out their calculators and saying, that does not look like $5 million in work. And I visit them with this, and they better stop the nonsense. They are saying even people in Oistins, are doing their own assessment of the work, and they're saying that is not $5 million. The point that the people in this country are making is that this government is misleading the people of this country with borrowed monies. We have come here today to borrow more money. More money we've come here to borrow. One, by the extension of the IMF, and according to the member for Christchurch East Central, and he had to remind his colleagues that it is not the CDB, the CARICOM Development Fund, $12.4 million US dollars. Let me say to this government through you, sir, that the people of this country become very nervous on every occasion that they hear that this government is borrowing money. And it is not that this country should not borrow money for developmental purposes. But the people of this country have lost trust in this government to expend those monies in the manner stated by the government. And I repeat, Kensington stands as an example of the loss of trust on the part of the people in this government. Nothing will still my voice on that. Nothing will still my voice on that. They don't believe it. They've lost any trust that they had in this government to expend borrowed monies in the way that they claim that they are doing. And then one is accused of a weak response. I don't have to make a long speech. I don't have to make any long speech. But when you talk about weak responses, you hear that Haiti is landlocked. You hear that Haiti is landlocked. And I'm accused of being weak. Haiti is landlocked. And the rain is falling horizontally on Beckles Hill. That's what we heard in here today. And then some nonsense that makes favorable comparison between populism and fascism. Now, who are the political scientists in here? There has never, you see, when people step off the aircraft, if they got jet lag, take a rest. But don't come in here trying to attack and trying to quote a deceased former prime minister and using terms like populism and fascism and making favorable comparison. I am not even going to reply to that, because populism and fascism are so far removed from each other. I don't know how it constituted a part of the debate. I don't know how. But to quote the same former deceased prime minister, some reference he is alleged to have made about me. The public record of this country is that that former deceased prime minister stood at the bottom of these steps and used the word despot. And everybody from Barbados to China and back around knows who he was talking about. So don't step off of any jets and come in here with any false high authority and think that you can launch insults. And that is why I say no amount of invective, false indignation, or sanctimony can still my voice when I say to this parliament that the people of Barbados, no longer trust this government to expend borrowed monies in the way that that loan agreement says that they should. Even when it comes down to the question of awarding contracts, on that borrowed money. A few weeks ago when we were discussing the World Cup loan, one of the members in here, I'm not going to say who, stood up and said, boasted that the RFP, the request for proposals, the bid document was advertised in the paper on the 5th of April. The work started a few days after that. In this public service that we know that is so bureaucratic, it doesn't happen. Does not happen. Ask any senior public servant. Ask any of them that you do not have an RFP in the newspaper on April 5th. And before the passage of 7 days, the work starts. And you are telling that to a parliament? And you are telling that to a country with a highly developed and highly educated public service? That's what they want people to believe? And coming here talking about weak? Who makes weak speeches? Yeah, not today. Not today. Give account give account on the two loans, on the loan that went to Kensington, and similarly, this government will be called upon to give account for expending the two loans that have been dealt with in here today, including the last one. Including the last one, and I will not be deterred, Mr. Speaker, I will not be deterred. I have a job to do, populism, fascism, or whatever. I have a job to do, and I will do it, and I will not be intimidated. This lineup, and everything is George Street. Why are they so frightened? In fact, the word that is used in classical literature, why are they so affrighted? Why are they so affrighted? All of a sudden, Mr. Speaker, why are they so affrighted? A lineup of speakers and all saying the same thing. George Street, George Street, George Street. What are they frightened for? Give account. Beg your pardon? They're mocking? They're not afraid? Oh, I see. They're not afraid. Well, they have been bailed out by the most junior member for St. Michael North. Not any medication. Not any medication. I defy this government to deny me the right to say in reflection what the people of Barbados are saying about this government. So don't deal with me. Deal with the people out there. Deal with the people out there who have stopped trusting this government in relation to expending public monies. I repeat, Your Honor. Same speech. I repeat, Your Honor. I know you hate to hear it. You hate to hear it, but it is the truth. Step out of this parliament tonight. Step onto Palmetto Street and ask the people if they believe that y'all spent $50 million on Kensington, Oystons, and the police sports complex. Ask them. Ask them. But you want me, sir, to come to this loan, the $12 million loan. And I refer to this $12 million loan in the context of this government's recent record. There is something strange in this parliament today. I haven't seen the Prime Minister in here since I think the Prime Minister came for the budget. And she came for the, she came for the budget. She wasn't here for the budget. I am saying when the Prime Minister was in here. I'm not speaking of her absences, I'm speaking of when she was present. No, I'm not implying. I am saying that I heard the Prime Minister deliver the budget speech in here. You didn't hear? Well, I heard the Prime Minister deliver the budget speech. And I heard the Prime Minister speak on the child protection bill, and I was happy to see her. And I was happy to see the Prime Minister today. The Honourable Prime, oh yes, so are we all. So are we all honourable men and women. So are we all. Don't get upset. Don't get upset. Don't get upset. Don't get upset. Don't wave your hand at me. Don't wave your hand at me. Don't get so upset. Don't get upset. Look, Mr. Speaker, it now reaches the point. The Honourable Member for St. Thomas has gone on record as saying she's going to beat me bad. The point I was making is that something happened today that gave me the pleasure of seeing the Honourable Prime Minister. And I am sure Barbadians are very happy that we saw the Honourable Prime Minister. We can go home tonight and watch her on YouTube. I wouldn't describe it as a curious visit to this parliament, nor a curious visit to Barbados. curious visit to this parliament today and a curious visit to Barbados today, because during the course of the Honourable Prime Minister's speech, I heard her say that she was in London giving some speech. So welcome back, Honourable Prime Minister. But somehow today, a visit to this place becomes extremely important to defend another loan, and perhaps 2 loans that this country is taking, that the people, the young people, the babies in this country will have to repay at some point. Somehow Parliament has allured the Honourable Prime Minister today. Be ye not affrighted. What are you afraid of? And all these references to George Street and people who have aspirations, that is not the subject of anybody's story. Aspiration should not be the subject of anybody's story. The subject of the story in here today is for this government to give defense for these frequent loans that this country is committing itself to, and they snuck to in here today. Snuck to in here today in the name of the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central. Some time ago I spoke in here, I remember the exact date, and I said that that Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central will have a great burden. I'm not a prophet, but I knew you would have a great burden to come in here and to be doing the work on behalf of the government, to be lifting the heavy loads, to be the voice of Jacob when the hand of Esau is committing this country to heavy obligations in terms of loan repayments. But that's the voice of Jacob. And the hand of Esau is committing this country. I can bear it. Committing this country to heavy obligations of loan repayments, and all the economists in this country, minus, of course, the Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central. He's in an invidious position. Called upon, he has to defend it. He's a member of the government. Can't break ranks with the cabinet and criticize it. But he knows that his colleagues are continuing to question this government as to the wisdom of these frequent visits to the bank. Whether it is a blue, black, green bank, or the International Monetary Fund, or the CARICOM Development Fund. It does not matter. All of the economists in this country are questioning the wisdom of frequent borrowing by this government. No amount of invective, no amount of sanctimony, no amount of false indignation will still my voice in protesting on behalf of the people of this country who feel uncomfortable that this government is taking this country to its financial brink. And if this government believes that it is beyond criticism, I have no apology to make. I have no apology to make. That every time you get up and constructively criticize on behalf of the people of this country, and when you say people of this country, it has nothing to do with populism. It is the language of the Honourable Member for St. Michael South as well. He doesn't finish a speech unless he talks about people-centered. Is he to be accused of being a populist as well? But when it suits you, you talk about populism. Be not affrighted. Take, as one line in the movie says, take the pain. This government has inflicted pain on the people of this country, and if the pain of criticism hurts you, deal with it. Take it. Take the pain. You can point at your watch, and the more you point at it, the longer I will go on. But I will not burden you, sir. I think I've made the point. I think I've made the point that the economists are disturbed at these frequent visits to the banks of the world. And the people of this country are disturbed at the habits of this government. The people of this country are disturbed that this government is misrepresenting the financial interests of this country. And if this government must now be disturbed at the realization that they have lost the people's trust, so be it. So be it. Every honeymoon comes to an end. This government's honeymoon has ended. And they seem unable to come to grips with that. And if I'm to stand in here and to face invective and personal abuse, there's a time at which I will begin to enjoy it. If it means that the government is hurting, they are hurting. Take the pain of the people's resentment. Take it. Take it and swallow it. You have brought it on yourselves, and they have brought it on themselves, Your Honor. In terms of policies that are not in the interests of the people of this country. And that, Your Honor, is my general position in relation to the 2 loans that were taken today, and certainly in relation to the last one. The one thing I want to say as well, this government has a way of taking this country into a mindset of crisis. Everything used to be, the lines used to be, what was the hurricane called? Elsa. Oh, it was Elsa, and the dust storm, and lightning strikes of 5,000, and it used to be that. Every country in the Caribbean has taken a more positive mindset as to development. People are working on their tourist arrivals. People are working on their industries. People are working on their agricultural industry. But this government excuse for failure is to place the people in a mindset of fear and crisis. And we are now to believe that we are encircled permanently by crisis. That nothing positive can happen. That I heard one member today say, beg your pardon? Tourism. Well, the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central, by his example, needs to take his colleagues out of that mindset of doom and gloom. Because clearly, he is optimistic. But the rest of the government of which he is a member, every narrative, every line, oh man. One man said today, I could, not outside, but an honourable member here said today, oh, there's a time that's going to come, we may not have water for 4 years. We may not have rain for 4 years. And he's telling the people of Barbados that. And we are supposed, as a country, to reside in that permanent mindset of fear and to characterize, y'all having a ball, to characterize parliamentary debate as akin to I think Chicken Little, and your sky is falling, and you're Donald Trump, and you don't believe in climate change. Everybody knows that climate change is there for the world to see. It's there. Climate change is there. It's a reality. It used to be, people became aware of it with the La Nina phenomenon and so on. It is there. Everybody knows it exists. But this government's approach to debate is to distort what you say and to say that we are against what is happening in Oistins, but they do that because they're contemptuous of people's intelligence. And they want to tell the people in Oistins that the representative is against the work, when everybody knows that is not true, that what is being said is that the work is welcome, but we do not believe the amounts. And the people in Oistins also say that. Go up there and ask some of the vendors now. Well, they're not going to say it openly, because this government has managed to cast people into cocoons of fear. People are afraid of this government. People are afraid of this government. There was a well up there that was being, water was being drawn off this week. You know, sir, even the well is painted red. Even the well is painted red, the mark of the beast. Even the well is painted red. You know who is the beast? You know who is the beast? Well, let me clarify further the mark of the political beast. Because you can only intend to so indoctrinate people that you paint everything red and cast it into their faces, the mark of the political beast, if that satisfies the members on the other side. But this government is so contemptuous. This government is so contemptuous of the intelligence of people that they believe that they can distort every argument and that people will buy it. Nobody is buying that tired argument that says that a representative is not in favor of the work. The representative is questioning the cost of the work. And the people of Barbados are questioning the cost of the work. Deal with it. Deal with the pain of distrust. They don't trust you. The trust has gone. Go into your individual constituencies. I know you can laugh when I say that. You don't know what I'm up to. Go into your individual constituencies and work on your own popularity and your own prospects. And stop walking about Barbados believing that because you have the title cabinet member behind your name, that makes you safe. You are not in waters of political safety. Trust me on that one. Do like certain people among you. Do like certain people among you who insist that they don't like to travel so often because they want to knock on doors on weekends. Do like them. Do like them. And stop believing the propaganda that you were brought to a place of political safety by one person. You were not brought to any political safety by one person. Are you so self-diminished? Are they so self-diminished that they believe that they have no individual political merit? And are they so afraid to stand on their own 2 feet? Some of them have enough self-respect to stand on their own 2 feet. But I saw the Honourable Prime Minister come in here today and start pointing. You should see the change. The public won't see it because YouTube only focuses on the speaker. But an entire change. I congratulate the Prime Minister for the power that she has. I beg your pardon, and so are we all. All honorable men and women. For the power that the Honorable Prime Minister has in influencing the behavior of her members. Even when she walks into the chamber, one speaker at the time, he is in full stride. And everything he said after that was a reference. Oh, the Prime Minister. He had not made one reference to her, to the Honorable Prime Minister prior to her visit. But in the aftermath of the visit, every other line, oh, the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister. I want to say to this government, sir, through you, sir, and I repeat, no amount of personal abuse, no amount of insults, no amount of righteous indignation, no amount of sanctimony will still my voice in opposition to this government, in opposition to this government that continues to borrow money at the expense of the people of Barbados and at the expense of the interests and the long-term interests of the young people of this country. The time has come to give account. The time has come to give account to the people of this country for the spending habits of this government. And there is another time coming, because all of a sudden, after my declaration and disclosure last week as to a public accounts committee, Parliament is full. Everybody comes, everybody wants a pound of flesh. Take it. Take the pound of flesh. My advice to some of them in this government, seek your own salvation. Seek your own political salvation. And listen to the narrative carefully. This is not about any personal political aspiration. This is about the interests of a country. This is about the future of a country. And this is about a country that ought to be well run. This is about a country that is entitled to account being given to it by a reckless government. A government that has borrowed record sums in the short time that it has occupied office. Must not the people be concerned about it? It is not my sole and individual voice that is protesting against the government's financial habits. It is the people of Barbados who are concerned. It is the people of Barbados who visit the supermarket every week. It is the people of Barbados who can't get their light bills paid. It is the people in Barbados, some of whom are keeping their children at home because they can't give them breakfast to go to school. They know what is going on in Barbados. And they come in here heckling and screaming and shrieking and rejoicing in unison when insults are launched in this direction. I am not deterred. I will not relent. I am not afraid of any of them. Of any of them, I am not afraid. Not one of them scares me, from the Prime Minister back down. Not one of them. Not one. But they're afraid. This government is afraid because this government knows that it is engaged in financial wrongdoing. This government knows that. So don't make me the excuse. Don't make me the excuse. Go and answer to the people in St. Lucie. Answer to the people in St. Joseph. Come down the eastern coastline and reside in St. Philip and ask the people in St. Philip if they're happy with the government's spending habits. Ask them. Ask them. Come to St. Michael and ask a terrified population if they're happy with the state of crime in this country. There too. Go and ask them. Go and ask them. So if they expect that my voice will be silent, I disappoint you. No, I will not still my voice. I have too much to claim. The opening lines of Looking at Your Hands by Martin Carter. So let that be my contribution, Your Honor, as to this last loan that has been snuck into this Parliament at 8 o'clock in the night, after a debate in which the Honourable Attorney General said, well, might not. People on social media talking about it already. And that it will not be used. He passes the law, but he admits it may not be used.
With respect, sir.
So, Your Honor, that is
raise
my
on a point of
contribution.
order. The honourable member is misleading the chamber. The Attorney General at no point in time said that he's passed a law that is not going to be used. I let it go the first time, I let it go the second time, right? I let it go the third time. But if the honourable member insists on repeating himself with that, as he's been repeating himself with everything for the entire day, I actually have to cut him off now. He is misleading the chamber. He is misleading the chamber, sir. Yes, and I ask that he do withdraw the comment.
Go and deal with the people of Barbados. Go and deal with them. Go and deal with the people of Barbados.
Honourable Member for St. James Central.
Mr. Speaker, sir, it has been written that there is a view that all the world is a stage, and men and women are merely players. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I think we have seen the most masterful, that is the word, the most masterful display of the world being but a stage just now in the contribution of the Honourable Member for Christchurch South. Now, while he continues to heckle, because even though he jumped, he with tremendous agility and alacrity sat down, I hope he has not endangered his aging spinal cord. But he sat down, your aged spinal cord. It is ancient. I can come to that. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, only to end his speech so that the Honourable Member from Christchurch East would not be able to do that which he sought to do, which is to clarify the record. But, sir, we are, oh dear, everything, sir, is who is in Oistins. What is it with this gentleman, sir, that he is so profoundly perturbed about who goes into Oistins? There was always an Oistins, Mr. Speaker. For all the time the Honourable Member has been alive, there was an Oistins. For all the time the Honourable Member was in this place, there was an Oistins. That he has not chosen prior to now to visit that place with any regularity is no one's fault. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is not about Oistins. Let us not make it about that. Mr. Speaker, a number of things that have been said, much of which must be corrected for the record. The records of this House, sir, I believe can only be pulled by the Honourable Member if we are still within the same session. It would have been within the last 2 months that the Honourable Member would have stood in his place and made it abundantly clear that he did not want money spent in Oistins. He said that. It is part of the record, and I'm inviting him, sir, to call, not to stand up, you can stand up, but call for the records of this House as you, and only you can do with respect to your speech. Don't just stand up. Don't just raise yourself onto your hind legs. Call for the record of your speech.
All right, you go on. Go on, son.
You done?
Go on, little
No,
fella.
I sat down to allow you to speak,
Go on, little
to
fella.
call for the record of your speech.
All right, look. You want me-
What point are you on,
want me
member?
to raise a point?
Honourable Member, what point are you on?
We're
What
both
point
on our
are you
feet.
on?
We're both on our feet.
Well, I would give way if you can call for the record of your speech. I thought so. Not for the first time since going to that place, he has demonstrated that he is capable only of bluffing. Bluffing!
Honourable member, your mic is on?
My mic is on.
Oh, okay.
My mic is on, sir.
Continue.
The country must know that he's not only that he's bluffing, but this is demagoguery that we are subjected to here,
Your
Mr.
Honor.
Speaker, sir. It is what do you want to know?
I just declined.
It's a point of order.
I was merely declining to stand on the point of order because it makes no sense responding. They've said it so often.
All right, so then,
and it makes no sense
Honourable, there's
responding.
no point of order.
The honourable member, Mr. Speaker, sir, if the honourable member has decided that in the latter stages in the evening of his years, he wants to enjoy himself and come and use this place as a plaything, that's a matter for the honourable member. But you cannot read your WhatsApp and collect your messages from the quarter of George Street that you lead. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the records of this House will reflect that the honourable member did in fact say he wanted nothing. He distanced himself unequivocally from the financing that would have been dedicated to Oistins, Mr. Speaker, sir. That fell from the lips of the honourable representative for Oistins, Christchurch South. No, Mr. Speaker, sir, and as I indicated, sir, if he is going to profess his innocence of that charge, then it falls to him and him alone in this House to call for the records of his speech. And if he does not possess either the intestinal or testicular fortitude so to do, we can move on. The next point, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that we have to all accept a responsibility to speak truthfully to the issue of the interests of Barbados. It ain't only that honourable member, sir. All of us have an interest in this country. The future of Barbados, all of us have a vested interest in that. And Mr. Speaker, sir, equally we have an interest in the record of financial practice in this country. I don't know about anybody else, sir, but I am not going to shy away from defending that. And there is, for your benefit, honourable member, nothing to be afraid about. That's why he rose to speak. And he doesn't want us to speak about George Street either. No, sir. None of us take any degree of delight in seeing what has unfolded in George Street. So let us put it where you raised it. So it's relevant because the honourable member raised it. It's the same
Honourable member, he has no authority to talk about relevance. He does not possess that authority.
No, Mr. Speaker,
that is
sir.
vested within the sole authority of the Speaker.
Indeed, Mr. Speaker.
So disregard what he just said.
I will do my best to unhear what he just said.
Express and exhibit judicial deafness to what he just said.
To him, Mr. Speaker, sir. But he will become discomforted when once I raise the issue of George Street, because, sir, he knows, as we all do, that that which is unfolding there now is unprecedented in the political history of this country. And I say to him, sir, that none of us wish him ill, nor, sir, are we pleased about the fact that he has been told unequivocally that they were doing well until he came along. I didn't say that, sir. That was said by his General Secretary. His General Secretary told the world we were doing well without him, and we would prefer to be without him, and that he should let the people go. None of us said that, Mr. Speaker, sir. That is what came from those two, as the Honourable Minister for St. Philip West has pointed out. The first sensible thing to do is to make sure you're welcome. Ever so welcome, just wait for a call. You don't rush to go into people's place. No, Mr. Speaker, sir, we come to what is really important, because when he had nothing to say, he went all around the world. Article 158 of the Revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, which I hold in my hand, which is a document of this House, sir, makes it possible for any country that is a member of CARICOM to go to the Development Fund of CARICOM, which is established for the purpose of providing financial or technical assistance to disadvantaged countries or to regions and sectors which are disadvantaged within any country that is a member state of CARICOM. We are here, Mr. Speaker, sir, because we are attempting to raise some capital for the purpose of treating to a sector in Barbados that is exceptionally stressed. Water scarcity, sir, has been, in this today, I think there must have been at least 4 speeches that have touched on the question of the crisis, not just in climate, but the crisis in scarcity of water with which this country has been afflicted. I said, sir, in a previous contribution in this House today, that there is an urgent need for us to be able to reuse, sir, recycle, redirect, redeploy. You can put any re you want, Mr. Speaker, sir, with respect to the water that is used in this country. And that is precisely what is being done with respect to the upgrading of the sewage plant and in Barbados, the Bridgestone sewage plant, sir, and the redirection of wastewater in this country. The redirection, the honourable member wonder if you can drink it. So if you're going to come to this place, sir, purely with a view to being flippant, purely with a view to espousing that which is ignorance and basic, then, sir, you will never get anywhere. And this is why I have said prior, sir, that the honourable gentleman is insistent and persistent on doing himself the disservice of not being seen as being a serious person in this parliament. It ain't a question about telling people go around Barbados and ask what your constituents think of you. It is looking at yourself in the mirror, asking yourself, am I making a fool of myself? And I want to suggest to him yet again for the umpteenth time now that he is better. In spite of all that you've heard, sir, he is better than that which he's offering. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, is it that the honourable leader of the Democratic Labour Party, let us get real about the politics, man. Is the Democratic Labour Party now being heard to say in Barbados that the Bridgestone sewage plant should not be upgraded? Is it the policy of the Democratic Labour Party, which they say they are now putting into manifesto form, that the Bridgestone sewage plant should not be upgraded? And if it is that it is to be upgraded, then, Mr. Speaker, so what is the quarrel? Because you can't have it both ways. If you are to upgrade the sewage plant, then I would have hoped and thought that a sensible contribution, one worthy of the King's Council, would have been that, tell me what the upgrade is going to involve. Let me test whether or not the parameters of that which you envisage are consistent with what my own understanding of the state of the sewage plant is. That's what I would have expected, Mr. Speaker, sir, from any of the others who have held that seat that is called the leadership of the opposition seat. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, it would seem to me, I am hearing a noise like a Spanish station butting in. Is that the voice of the leader of the opposition I'm hearing, sir? A constant drone in the background, like a cat squealing under a car tire. Mr. Speaker, sir, the fact of the matter is that if it is that he has a concern about the nature of the work being done, then let us hear that. But it cannot be a bland and empty, meaningless statement that suggests there's something wrong with government expenditure only because government is spending the money on the upgrade of the sewage project, or the sewage plant. Well, it cannot be that the Democratic Labour Party is signaling to Barbados yet again that there can be a sewage treatment issue in Barbados that needs to be attended to, and that its policy is to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear and an uncaring hand in the direction of a sewage problem in Barbados for the second time, when for the first time it was done, the consequences were felt most acutely in the constituency of the honourable member. Because if that is what the honourable member is saying, Mr. Speaker, sir, it will be the second time that he has used this parliament. It will be the second time that he has used this parliament to snub and to scorn and to insult the very people who sent him here. It will be the people who sent him here, sir, that he will be insulting for the second time.
Honourable member, can you kindly allow the honourable member?
No, Mr.
Honourable member,
Speaker,
correct yourself. Could you allow the honourable member for St. James Central to make his contribution without being interrupted?
I don't know why, sir, he is so nervous and so profusely irritable. He used the word today, sir, that, what was the word he used? I had to correct him. He misused the word today. Intolerable, yes. Sir, his behavior is intolerable. He wanted to say intolerant, sir, and in his usual nervousness as he speaks in this place, he said intolerable. No, Mr. Speaker, sir, the first concern I have, therefore, is for there to be clarity from the Democratic Labour Party as to whether it is that it is their policy that the Bridgetown sewage plant is not worthy of being upgraded, sir. Because that is what we've come to talk about 12 million United States dollars about. That is what it is about. Let us not be mealy-mouthed about it. And therefore, if it is that the mere fact that the Minister of Finance has come here to say that he's going to go to the CARICOM Development Fund to get the funding to upgrade the sewage project, that triggers automatically from the Democratic Labour Party an allegation of mismanagement of public funds, then I want clarity of purpose. Is it that he is saying, therefore, because there's no evidence adduced to any other suggestion of mismanagement, all that has been said is we want to fix the sewage plant and upgrade it. Huh? That's all that has been said. Don't tell me about old-fashioned politics, Mr. Speaker. I hold in my hand, Mr. Speaker, because I don't come in here bankrupt of the evidence. I hold in my hand a copy of Chapter 10A, the Public Accounts Committee Act in Barbados. The honourable member who is chair of the Public Accounts Committee likes to wash his mouth on this government. His first utterance is when he was challenged to give reasons why he went, what part he went. Sir, he came up, he dreamed up, well, there's quantumania in the government and to spend money badly. He said it this evening. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want him to go and read, the legislation. And at Section 7 of the Act, the duties of the committee are to examine the audited financial statements of the authorities of the government to which the Act applies and intergovernmental bodies to which the Act applies. And all statutory corporation entities in which the Crown owns not less than 50% of the share capital or controls at least 50% of the voting rights in the entity. Mr. Speaker, sir, he likes to talk about Comey, about Kensington. Kensington Oval Management, Inc. is an entity in which government owns 50% at least. Let not just be mealy-mouthed now. Do some work, Star. Get the audited financial statements, Star. Get the audited financial statements now and put the money where your mouth is. Because it is all well and good to walk up and down Barbados telling me about what the public feel about Kensington. I saw the hundreds and thousands gathered there. I have talked to people too. I have not heard a man or woman say anything other than money well spent. I was there Saturday. When Australia was blistering England, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I don't know what part he was, but I know that his name was talked all through Kensington. But has he taken leave of his senses? Has the man gone mad? But this place is wonderful. That's all that I heard. No, Mr. Speaker, sir, if it is that he talking to different Barbadians that has different things, let us don't talk too much old talk. It is time that you do some work. You've been leading the Democratic Labour Party long enough now to do little work, Star. So therefore, call for the financial statement, audit financial statements of Comey, and let us get down to brass tacks. We will bear, you like to quote Shakespeare, we will beard you in Denmark. We will bear, no, in fullness of the time, because there's too much false accusation, there's too much innuendo, there's too much scurrility being thrown from that side of the house over here, baseless, empty propaganda, and it is time that we need to learn in this country whether the leader newly minted of the Democratic Labour Party is nothing but an empty suit. And if it is that he's nothing but an empty suit, spare the people the pain of persisting, because you have already been told, let the people go. You've already been told, Mr. Speaker, sir. Now, the other aspect of it, Mr. Speaker, is the need for us to again remind the honourable member of the duty of the government. Because we cannot turn a blind eye to the need for us to do the necessary maintenance work on a fundamental installation for utility purposes in Barbados, such as a sewage plant. The honourable member, Mr. Speaker, sir, just gave a speech in here in which he sought to suggest that the government was guilty of mismanagement of the public finances because the government dared to raise the specter of getting a loan in order to finance it. It ain't to say that we've done anything and done it badly. We are just saying we will raise the money by way of a loan. And that incurred from this novitiate, Mr. Speaker, sir, an accusation of financial impropriety. But I'm not interested in what you may think the public believes. I'm concerned about what you believe. Because the public is not here to speak, you are. And if without anything being done by any minister in this government, there can be an allegation of financial impropriety, then, Mr. Speaker, sir, it tells me that there's a level of recklessness that is unprecedented. Because for there to be impropriety, there will have to be an act. Is that not true, Mr. Speaker, sir? I don't want to have to lecture the King's Council on the basics of the law, but there would have to be an actus reus, a so-called wrongful act. The wrongful act cannot be...
I remember, I believe that, and I just want to admonish people, our members in here. The time is fast approaching.
Yes, sir.
Where if behavior like this continues.
Like mine?
Hold on, I am speaking, or remember.
Sorry, sir.
A word to the wise is enough. But from today's crescendo in this honorable chamber, the time is fast approaching where people might be asked to leave this honorable chamber or be taken out of this honorable chamber. It is apparent that this time is fast approaching. A word to the wise is enough. Continue.
Very well said, Mr. Speaker, sir. Very well said. But I am not entering any plea of mitigation for anybody, Mr. Speaker. But I understand why there's the discomfort. Because you are, as I said, so novitiate, so unprepared, so reckless in your approach, that the mere suggestion of raising money in order to do necessary work is misconstrued in your mind, in your tormented mind, as being financial impropriety. Now that level of thinking, sir, I think is without any precedent in this house. This house has been blessed with people who have demonstrated leadership, sir, by way of an understanding and a comprehension, not only about the numbers, but, sir, an analysis. But what we hear today is that the Minister of Finance comes and he is proposing that the House give him the permission to go to the CARICOM Development Fund to get $12 million to make sure that we don't let the Bridgetown sewage plant run down and that it got sewage all through the streets of Bridgetown, as happened in Worthing, where the leader of the opposition represents, and as was done to the people out there by the government that he now has gone and aligned himself with, the party that he aligned himself with. Mr. Speaker, sir, that mere demonstration of intent on the part of the finance minister gives rise to accusations which are unfounded. Accusations, sir, which are scurrilous. And I say baseless, in fact, Mr. Speaker, sir. And were I not in here, I would say that they are malicious as well. And that is, Mr. Speaker, sir, that there's financial impropriety. Well, how could there be financial impropriety in thought? Are you accusing the Minister of Finance of having larceny in his heart? He has done nothing yet. And no evidence has been adduced to this chamber, Mr. Speaker, so to suggest of any financial impropriety anywhere else. And this is what governance is now being reduced to by the opposition, which is adopting the very unfortunate posture of just slinging mud and maligning anybody, pelt it on the wall, pelt it at the wall, and hope that something sticks. So the whole government is guilty of financial impropriety. Every minister is guilty of financial impropriety. What absolute garbage, Mr. Speaker. Especially coming from he who alone has the power to convene a public accounts committee. I went to the last one, sir. Button bout. Could not decide what they're going to do. Ask me where I feel we should start. Well, I had to tell him, well, you are the chairman. But I said that to him. The clerks at the bar table were there. The clerks at the table were there, Mr. Speaker, so I had to tell him, you are the chair. You decide. The King's Council. Huh? I don't get tired with all of that there, because the Emperor Caligula went and sought counsel from his ass. That is written, sir, in history. The Emperor Caligula sought counsel from his ass. Went in the stable, saw this council thing, king, queen, whoever. I don't get tired with that. But the point is, Mr. Speaker, sir, that there is a need for us to be very clear on this matter of trust, because he used it repeatedly. I'm not going to bed tonight unless I deal with it. If you believe that there's elements of untrustworthiness in the government of Barbados, put up or shut up. I say it again. If you believe that there's elements of untrustworthiness in the government of Barbados, put up or shut up. But you and you alone have the capacity to bring these issues to this parliament if you feel that they exist and that they are real. But what this place must not ever be used as, sir, as a place where you come with empty pantomime. That you come in here, scurrilize everybody on the opposite side, do not have a shred of evidence, do not have a whisper of anything corroborative to support what you are saying, but at the same time, sir, you expect to be taken seriously. It cannot work. And that is why, perhaps, we find ourselves spending so much time reflecting on what is unfolding in George Street. Because, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think the gentleman who calls himself Mr. Blackett got it right. They were going along very good. They were going along very good. And then this avalanche of confusion descended upon them. Mindlessness. And we are not supposed to reflect in awe and amazement that a party that has at one time or another held the reins of government and passed legislation to govern people's behavior in this country is descending into cutting off locks, breaking and entering, burglary, Mr. Speaker, sir, accusing one another of egregious crimes. Do you know that the police service of Barbados has been called in twice in the course of the last 9 months, in one gestation period, twice, Mr. Speaker, sir? On what? For the first time, sir, it was electoral fraud, allegations of electoral fraud, that the stole of voters list, in order to conduct an internal election, if they have to stoop to that level of malfeasance. I don't know. That's what they accuse each other of. Are they fit to be unleashed on the public of Barbados? And then the second time, Mr. Speaker, sir, more recently, they're calling the police again. Now, perhaps what Mr. Blackett should be talking about is the outcome of either of those two instances where the police's ordinary day-to-day business was disrupted, so that we would have an understanding of where the criminality truly lies. I would hate to think they're just wasting the police's time, and that perhaps that is where the country now would benefit from some understanding. But instead of that, this newly minted leader calls a press conference because he has to stamp his authority. One is lifting weights on social media, and the other one is holding press conferences. And in his press conference, oh Lord, more calamity falls from his mouth. He is writing a manifesto. Now, it is an assault on common sense, Mr. Speaker, sir, because what manifesto could you be writing when the people got you in court and saying that you can't lead them nowhere? But they have you in court. They put you in court and say you can't lead them anywhere. They take up a whole Chief Justice of Barbados time. A whole Chief Justice that apparently y'all feel ain't got nothing to do. Take up your time to say what? To say what? They may soon get rid of you, but you're writing a manifesto for them. What madness is this? It is midsummer's madness, Mr. Speaker, sir. Sir, but I say simply this. I only entered this debate, sir, because we got to get the record right. If he wants to talk about trust, that's what trust is about. The public of Barbados needs to know that they can trust people who are holding leadership positions. You can't be calling in the police and don't tell the police the outcome. It isn't a secret. You call them in publicly. The police that can be attending to somebody's rape case. The police that can be attending to somebody that called for them because the house was burgled or they were shot at, sir. You call them away from other duties. There's a need now for the country to know. Yes, you all may wish to have an indulgence in voter fraud with each other, but you're calling the police for that too. So now the public has a need to know. You put it in the public domain. Don't tell me about trust. I am not going to be lectured on trust from people like them. People who accuse each other of abject deceit. That is what electoral fraud is. If I've stolen a voter's list in order to rig an election, I am accusing you of theft and I'm accusing you of corruption and fraud. And you can tell me about trust? You can tell me about trust? No, Skipper. I told you already today, sell that snake oil elsewhere. Don't bring it in here or choose a day when I overseas. I hope you get away with them. But it can't work. I see you for what you are, gentlemen. I see you for what you are. You, sir, are to be forgiven only because you are a desperado at this moment, holding on for dear life in an institution that does not want you. Having acted rashly without consultation, you find yourself in no man's land. You want to haul in the kite. You want to row the ship backwards. Don't know how to come ashore that way. Mr. Speaker, sir, but we can't help you, no. You went too far. You went too far out on a limb. If the limb is breaking under his weight, sir, that is none that we can do. Not even a safety net, sir, we can't provide for him. So the point is, Mr. Speaker, sir, that I wanted to make this position clear. One, I am not taking pupillage on trust, not for the Democratic Labour Party. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a very simple matter. The finance minister has made it clear there is an issue that requires attention and will require financing at the Bridgetown sewage plant. Are we being told by the opposition, noble and true opposition, that their policy is left the sewage plant, let whatever happen, happen? And it is within our recent memory that that was the position of a Democratic Labour Party government in Worthing in the constituency of this honourable member. And maybe because he associated himself with their way of doing things in Worthing back then, that is why he feels it comfortable to go and embrace them now, because really and truly mentally he was with them all along and their way of doing things. And if that was the case, then that will be the second time you have snubbed the people you represent. You snubbed them in Oystins where you said they were unworthy of the money, unworthy of $5 million. You know what? Poor working class people that selling fish, Mr. Speaker, sir, Crazy Eddie and others that got a little shop. They're not supposed to get a quart of paint. They're supposed to get proper bathroom facilities. And then when they get the thing, sir, he condemns them because he see red. Good Lord.
Honourable member, please join it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm done with that.
Honourable for Christchurch, East Entry.
Mr. Speaker, I am not often speechless, but I could find no coherent thought coming from the member for Christchurch South in anything that he's put to this chamber today in relation to these very serious matters. And it is unfortunate because he raised issues of trust, and I know, sir, that the people of this country, for good reason, determined that they do not want any member of the Democratic Party, sir, near the treasury or the public purse of this country. And they voted on 2 occasions, sir, to ensure that that is the case. And therefore, when the honourable member comes in here talking about the government has lost the trust of the people with respect to the management of the public finances, I take it personally, I take it professionally, because I've spent the last 6 years, sir, to try to bring a measure of respect back to this country, not just in terms of managing finances, but just the improvement, sir, of the delivery of public goods and public services that the public expects from a responsible government, sir. This Barbados Labour Party government has worked to deliver, sir, on the basic things as well as on the things, sir, that we know will help transform this country. So the honourable member needs to check himself and those around him, because the very substance of this debate here in relation to the upgrade of the Bridgetown sewage plant, sir, speaks at the heart, sir, of what it is to improve people's lives. No, sir, he made reference to the fact that we keep bringing things here and that we hiding. No, pray tell, sir. Pray tell. We bring resolutions here to this chamber to say the government borrowing XYZ to do the next return, and he is going to suggest that the process of us coming to tell the public, sir, the terms and conditions under which we are borrowing and what we're borrowing the money for, that the government is hiding. Because he knows, sir, discovered that this is how Parliament works, sir. This is how Parliament works. And to the extent that he can suggest that people are either present or absent in this place, when this government, sir, has been present, sir, for the last 6 years to respond to the critical needs of the people of this country, sir, I think it is an insult, sir. It is an insult. And the Prime Minister, sir, up to today, in the anteroom to the Senate, was on a call, sir, with the Insurance Development Forum, the IDF, sir, to try to ensure that the issues related to the fact that insurance is becoming such a critical part of how we evolve the financial system, that we're, for example, sir, in some parts of California, some parts of Florida, sir, insurance companies are no longer offering insurance for specific things, the wildfires that were taking place in California, for example, sir. And therefore, when the Prime Minister speaks about the fact that we have to change what we are doing in order to help mitigate our people being able to be exposed in that way, and therefore we have to change things, sir, to ensure that we too are not caught up in it, because quite frankly, when reinsurance rates go up, sir, they're passed on across the region. Why, sir? Because insurance is a pool process, sir. And therefore, the Prime Minister, in advocating for the fact that small states not just need access to finance, but being able to ensure that we can utilize new technologies to reduce the perceived risk, sir, such that the reinsurance rates will be enhanced and that we can get greater space to be able to ensure that, not just with respect to houses, but as you know, sir, you need insurance to get a mortgage. You got a business, sir, you need insurance. All of these things matter, sir, in the ordinary lives of people. And he made some reference about the Prime Minister in London. The forum was being held in London, and the Prime Minister was speaking to the people in London. Today, in case he doesn't realize, there is technology available to do that too. And therefore, the Prime Minister, in continuing to lead in relation to the Bristol Initiative, it is important to understand, sir, that unless we get these things right, Barbados or the region, sir, will not be able to achieve climate resilience, and therefore we continue to press the point that not just in relation to financing, but in relation to insurance, that is going to matter, sir, what we do. So when he's talking what he's talking, we are saying, I am simply saying to Bajans, we now have to do things differently from what we were doing before, Mr. Speaker, and therefore this government will continue to work with any stakeholder who's prepared to help improve the lives of ordinary Barbadians. He said, sir, that we are making frequent visits to the bank, but I'm here to tell the honourable member, I will continue to go to the bank, sir, because you know what, sir? Next month, sir, we're going to bring another loan agreement here, sir, to buy back some debt cheaper than it is now, sir, to allow us to upgrade the South Coast sewage plant, which is in his constituency. So I hope that when we bring it back then, sir, that you criticize that too, because what we're going to, you know what we're going to do? We're going to issue a cheaper rate, and we're going to borrow against the savings to ensure that the South Coast sewage plant, sir, can get upgraded. In the same way, sir, for the same GCF that providing the grant funding for this Bridgetown, sir, is a part of that deal. And therefore, if he don't believe, sir, that the people of this country, that this minister will go to the bank, sir, each and every time to make sure that we get a better deal, sir, for the people of this country, I will do that every day for the rest of my life, sir, to make sure that we can deliver for the lives of ordinary citizens. Every day. In relation, sir, in relation to the IMF and the borrowing, because let's make it clear, sir, I know that the honourable member and the Democratic Labour Party, they have a phobia of the IMF, and that's because their public policy has always been flawed, and they cannot execute or do anything to benefit Barbadians in a substantial way. This government, under 2 programs now, have been able to meet every target that we have set under the IMF supported program of our Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Program. This second program, just to remind the public, involves the Resilience and Sustainability Trust, sir. You would have seen a press release middle of May, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, when we reached staff level agreement, sir, that assessed the results up to the end of March, sir, which said that we will unlock an additional $130-something million, sir, of which some of that money is from the Resilience and Sustainability Trust. That matter, sir, will go to the IMF board, I believe it's June 27th of this month, so I believe it's June 27th. And will be approved, sir, given that we've met the targets. And when we receive that money on June 28th or 29th, sir, it is that part of that money, sir, that we're going to use to provide the capital for the Blue-Green Bank that we discussed just now. And therefore, if the honourable member has a problem with the government of Barbados using monies at concessional rates to help us to be able to respond to the people of this country, then I say, as the honourable member for St. James Central said, if that is the position of the Democratic Labour Party, that your government is not to help people, but the use of so, and put that in your manifesto, because this Barbados Labour Party, we have a mission, sir, to help transform this country and to ensure that ordinary Bajans see a better life. And we are committed to doing that, sir, and we will take those monies, invest it in the capital of this bank, which would allow this bank to be able to be much more nimble and flexible to further expand in relation to that. In relation to the fact that it's CDF, it's 3%, sir. I said so in my initial submission, it is 3%, fixed for 12 years. And therefore, I know that the Democratic Labour Party, sir, when it was last in office, had bonds at 12, near 13%. And I know that for him to hear 3% is something wrong, because they're accustomed to double-digit numbers of borrowing, which is not what we are accustomed to. We are accustomed, sir, at borrowing at sustainable levels, which allows us to be able to deliver for our people. And therefore, if he has a problem with us borrowing at 3%, if I know I have not met a Bajan, sir, that is satisfied to borrow money at 10 and 12 and 13%, and therefore I know that if I talk to any Bajan and you ask them very clearly, Do you prefer to borrow at 12 or 13 or 3, mixing with a little grant, sir, to reduce the cost to them down the road and their children, as he said, in relation to financing? I know the answer that the people can tell me. Because once people are able to see improved public goods, improved public services, sir, which we are delivering, because the last government clearly, sir, abandoned their posts with respect to that. And therefore, this government, sir, this government of which I'm a part, we are proud to be able to ensure that we put together, sir, the right combination of deals to ensure that we can finance our development. And therefore, sir, every time we come to this place, and it's not as if we come in here and say it for the first time, we engage with the stakeholders, we prime people, we speak with the public, and indicate that these are the things that we are doing on their behalf. But you know what, sir? I can let the honourable member know that we ain't done there, because the same Bridgetown sewage plant, sir, we're working with another entity, sir, to make sure that the people in Chapman Lane, sir, and the surrounding areas, that as we upgrade the plant, sir, we do some urban regeneration down in the city, sir, to make sure that the people, sir, down in Emerton and those places who have been disenfranchised for so long, that we upgrade their housing condition under their urban regeneration program. The same type of program that the Democratic Labour Party allowed the money from the IDB to go back and spend, sir, because when they care about the lives of people, sir, we're going to make sure we get access to some of that money again, sir, to be able to ensure that the people in Chapman Lane and the surrounding areas, that as we upgrade this Bridgetown sewage plant, that they too, sir, can be connected to the Bridgetown sewage plant after improving their lives, sir. And that is the position, sir, of the Barbados Labour Party. So if the Democratic Labour Party, sir, does not want the people to benefit, the people from the city, sir, to benefit from that type of intervention, that is their problem. But the people in Robert Street, sir, on this side of the Parliament, sir, we are committed, sir, to ensuring that people who were left out, that we bring them into the fold, sir, improve their standard of living, and hope, sir, that they understand that they must put their trust, sir, in a government that is going to look out for not just their interests today, but the interests of them and their families, sir, down the road. And so, sir, I didn't intend to speak this long, but the honourable member certainly caused... Anyhow, we, sir, come to this Parliament to be open and transparent, and the honourable member in his position as the member for St. James Central clearly reminded him, he can audit anything in relation to these expenditures. Because I know that when you go down there, sir, today, you're not going to see pumpkins growing and vines growing in no processing plant. So when you start auditing, what we go back and check all of the records of the Barbados Water Authority and all of the contracts that were signed under the Barbados Water Authority under the last government, and speak to his colleagues to find out where some of that money went, sir. And still today, some of the issues that still persist with respect to the financial status of the Barbados Water Authority. And therefore, given his new mandate, I will expect that he will do so with a certain level of passion, and I hope that when he finds what he finds, that he's able to reconcile where he sits today, sir, with respect to the mess that they've left this country in, sir. And so, sir, I am happy to be able to say to this country that it is loan agreements like these, sir, that are going to be critically important to helping Barbados navigate what is becoming a even more torturous geopolitical global environment. And therefore, whilst the Democratic Labour Party is satisfied to wallow in misinformation and untruths, we are going to continue, sir, to deliver for the people of this country. And I know that the good people of this country know fact from fiction. And therefore, when they interact with reality on a day-to-day basis, sir, that their lives have been improved, not just since 2018, but we are charting a vision, sir, that will allow them to feel comfortable. And therefore, when he speaks about trust, I think he has to look in the mirror with his colleagues and do some serious self-introspection, because they've not offered, sir, a single credible solution that will give any Bajan the confidence that they could ever run this country, sir, again. And so, sir, with those very few words, I beg to move, sir, that this resolution do now pass.
The question is that this resolution do now pass. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This resolution stands passed. Honorable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, we've come to the end of today's sitting. I therefore beg to move the adjournment of the House until the 25th of June at 10 a.m.
The question is that this honorable chamber be adjourned until Tuesday, the 25th day of June 2024 at 10 a.m. in the forenoon. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands adjourned until Tuesday, the 25th day of June 2024 at 10 a.m. in the forenoon.